And so when I turned to look, right in front of the car, in the headlights, maybe 10 yards away, was this big creature.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Monsters Lounge. I'm Jeni.
And I'm Tressa.
And I am wildly excited that we are back live after a couple of week hiatus.
Me too.
Where we did fun and exciting things.
Saying my
It
name.
did feel weird, right?
Right?
I know.
What did we do this weekend, Jeni?
Oh, you mean after I got back from Olympic National Park?
Oh, were you gone?
Yeah, I was gone. I was gone. Yeah, that was. Did you think I wasn't gone? That seems sad.
I don't leave my room. I don't know what happens outside my room.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, so we were at the Great Lakes Paranormal Conference this past weekend, and it was a delight. What a delight of a time.
It was so much of a delight. And we met a new friend. His name is Cappy.
Is this the... Oh, there it is.
Yeah. He's hanging out with us at our table. And then we watched John Tenney speak. And then you and I went shopping and he washed our table for us.
That was nice. It's almost like he's trying to get into that photo. That's weird.
All right. You know, he's a little jealous. And then we went and we visited Dave, and he told Dave his favorite episode of the Holzer Files.
Dave was not happy.
He doesn't like when you talk about that episode. But we had a great time.
We did have a great time. We had a fantastic time. We got to hang out right next to Chad Lewis, and he is
so great.
Oh, great. All of the time.
And he's so fun, and he's so smart, and he knows all the things about all the guys. The guys being cryptids and stuff.
We call them guys now.
Yeah.
Close.
But he was a lot of fun to be next to the whole weekend. It was good.
Yeah, he very much is. Yeah, so that was a good time, and we'll be looking forward to more of them. But listen, we have a very exciting guest tonight.
That's why we're here.
I know, it is. We sometimes have guests, and we talk to them, and they know a lot more than we do. Sometimes they make a lot more sense, too. Most of the time. Okay. I met this gentleman back in the spring, maybe March, I think, and had heard about him prior to meeting him. But I just heard about him in his sort of managerial capacity. And so when I met him and started hearing stories, I was completely and totally blown away. He's a fantastic individual and so much fun to be around. So Lee Kirkland is not only the co-owner and event organizer at Wildman Days, co-owner, co-creator of Cryptid Con, and he is co-owner and agent at Creepy People Management. But he also investigates a huge variety of things within the paranormal realm, which I don't feel like you get a lot of the overall, investigating sort of thing, that whole umbrella topic. But he's also just an amazing person to talk to and has great stories. So please help me welcome Lee.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was the best introduction I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Yes, I finally nailed one.
Good job, Jeni.
Thank you. Thank you. And I didn't even mispronounce a name or a word.
There's still time.
Great. Yep. All right. And good night, because I can't possibly do any better.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. No problem.
One of the things that I like about you is that you do cover not only in what you yourself do, but in the people that you represent, the conferences that you're a part of. You cover sort of all areas of the paranormal. And
I really do, yeah.
Yeah. And I just find that so interesting because, I don't know, that's what interests me, right? Like, A little bit of everything.
Everything, right.
Yeah. So was that kind of a choice that you made, or did that sort of evolve over time?
It, as a child, I was always interested in everything. But the way I kind of got into to the extent that I'm in it, it was a lot of hard work, but I kind of fell into it as well. I started off just investigating the paranormal. I grew up in an extremely haunted house, but we lived on an old Civil War farm. So there was activity all over our place. And then there was always stories of cryptids along the Salt River where I'm from as well, like, the Bigfoot sightings and stuff like that. So I always had that in the back of my mind when I was out deer hunting and stuff. But once I got into the paranormal, I met, or my wife and I, Jennifer, we do everything together. We met Jeff Waldridge, and we just kind of snowballed into this whole kind of empire of everything that we do. We started up Scarefest with Patty Starr back in the day. We were one of the four horsemen, I guess you could say, of starting that up. And I kind of got to know people. I was doing all their bookings for the paranormal, so I got to know Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, and kind of got to know all these guys where I would bring them into the show. Well, I became really close with Nick Groff. Nick is one of my best friends today. And when he stopped Ghost Hunters, when he stopped Ghost Adventures, I had stepped away from Scarefest, and he couldn't do anything for like, what's it called? Like a clause where they can't do something, non-compete. He couldn't do it for a non-compete. Yeah. And so during that time, I was like, hey, man, let's start up, a tour and go around. You can hang out with fans, investigate these locations. And so we started up the Nick Groff tour. So that's something else that I do as well. So we travel the country, and I set up events. I rent out some of the most haunted, largest locations in the country. And then we travel there, and I'll sell tickets to it. People come in, investigate with Nick, and then other celebrity guests that we bring in. But long story short, other events knew that I was close to Nick. They wanted him to attend their event, so they would contact me. And so I would set things up for him periodically. And it just kind of kept growing and growing and growing, where everybody else, I already knew everybody else in the field. So they started coming to me, wanting me to work for them and saying, hey, can you set this stuff up for me? Can you set this stuff up for me? And so it just kind of grew from there. And that's how the whole creepy people management started up. And now I represent nearly everyone in the field. I mean, there's a few that I don't, but I'm still close with them. And, if somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, can you get us this person? Absolutely. And I'll send it to the appropriate person for them. Because, I enjoy doing this. And, I really like the travel. I like hanging out with everybody. Well, Jeni, you've seen me at events. So, I like bringing in the fun people from time to time. And it's been a whirlwind for the past, I guess close to a decade now. But I just love it. I love hanging out and bringing everybody together. And the biggest thing I think is bringing fans to the people that they admire. Seeing people cry tears of joy after meeting somebody, it's just something special. And, one thing really, really dear to me that happened was with Jason Halls and the Ghost Hunters, with the whole crew, Jason, Sherry, Steve, and Dave. We were at, it was the year prior to where I met you at, down at Smoky Mountain Terror. Okay. I worked closely with the Make-A-Wish Foundation for a young man to do a ghost hunt with Ghost Hunters. And so he was just a huge fan, and man, it was something to touch the heart. I mean, it was amazing to see something like that go down.
I love that so much. I was just talking to somebody at this past conference. Like, sometimes we get a table, sometimes we don't. But either way, we're not well known enough to not be able to sit back and really observe what happens. Mm-hmm. And the fans, and they come up and they talk to everybody and they share their stories. And for the most part, every single, para celebrity who is there really engages and asks questions. Mm-hmm. And it's possibly one of the coolest things that we get to be a part of at these things is seeing people meet their heroes.
Yeah,
and like
it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah, it's amazing. I, for some reason, just had it in my brain. Not for some reason, I know why, because I met you via the expedition Bigfoot mm-hmm. folks, so in my head it was like, oh, this is a cryptid guy, and then I heard about the Cryptid Con, so I was like, oh, okay, he does cryptid stuff. but you've had a long history of this other aspect of investigating ghosts.
I really do. I literally investigated everything. I mean, we've been in Europe. You know, I've investigated some of the Ireland castles. You know, and you know, you name it, and I've been all over investigating. But I've also been out in the fields investigating too for cryptids. Been on sky watches with some of the top names in the business. You know, it's just anything that's paranormal to me is interesting, and I want to know as much about it as I possibly can. But I also like experiencing that with the people who are professional at it. You know what I mean? And so I've learned a lot from, just investigating with people like John Zaffis or like Cliff Bergman or, hanging out with Russ and Maria and these guys who do this stuff. And they've been to the craziest places, the most active locations, and they have the best stories. And, just being around these people, you just kind of, create a sponge of yourself and just absorb their knowledge as well. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that for the last decade and a half.
Yeah. Was there a point where you were only kind of interested in the ghost aspect, or has it always been everything?
It's always been everything. I think after my first major experience with the paranormal, it kind of like made me want to know more. I've never seen a Bigfoot. I have had a cryptid experience, but it's kind of, I was young, and it was kind of one of those things where I forgot about it until later in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've seen things in the sky that I can't explain. It makes me want to know more of that. But, with the paranormal, I think once I got hanging out with Nick Groff, and we started touring, and I started having access, being the only person in the Stanley Hotel, or being the only person in Missouri State Penitentiary walking around, or, Waverly Hills by myself, stuff like that kind of triggers the paranormal in you, wanting to know more about the supernatural part of the paranormal, of the spirits and the afterlife. It's just kind of.
What was the first paranormal experience that opened the whole book for you?
As a child, my house was just extremely haunted. Like I said, we grew up on an old farm that was part of the Perryville battle. It was known as the bloodiest battle of the state of Kentucky during the Civil War. 7,600 people went dead, wounded, or missing in less than 4 hours.
Oh my God.
So it was a very, very brutal battle, and it was fought on part of our property. And so we had a lot of different sightings and stuff on our property. It was something that we called the gray people. I don't know what they were, but we would see these in like burlap looking clothes, like in the yard. I mean, we would see them all over our properties. And so that kind of got me triggered into, I was terrified of it. Obviously I was a child, but, kind of got me triggered in, what is this? What are these people? Why are they here? And, so it started early on for me.
Yeah. The fact that you had a name for it, this thing that kept showing up, that's wild.
It was, and it wasn't just like one specific one. Like I remember my sister seeing a man and a woman, out in our yard one day. And I can specifically remember one time seeing one in the corner of the yard at night, and it was just standing there. And my dad didn't believe in any of this stuff. And so he comes running out thinking that somebody was in our yard. And we were way out in the country. It was a big, big farm. And he said, he pulled a gun out and said, "Who are you? What do you want? You need to get off my property." And this thing just stood there. Well, he started walking towards it. And as he started walking towards it, he fired a couple of rounds into the ground, and it just disappeared. And he turned around and he said, "Did you all see that?" And I was just almost in tears, like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" And he turned around. He's like, "Nothing happened, nothing at all." He said, "Just go back, go to bed." So he wouldn't acknowledge it at all.
No, of course not. And also, how do you explain that to a child? Because you don't even know what happened.
It was wild. I mean, specific memories, stuff like that, just, trigger in my head constantly.
I heard a bit about the story, and I totally made a noise at the beginning of what you were saying, because like it's scary. This is a scary story to me, and I hear about these things from our guests, and I get scared, and I'm nowhere near the actual experience. How did that sort of change for you, going from like that terrifying experience when you were a kid to now you're like, all right, it's cool? Because you were a very even-keeled individual. Right.
So, I can remember there being a specific change in my life that made me less afraid of this stuff. And it was, just spending more time alone, like knowing that I can remember one specific time I was in the A Hall of Missouri State Penitentiary. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. One of my favorite locations. They called it the bloodiest 47 acres in America. Several deaths there. There's still the gas chamber there. You can sit in the gas chamber seats. But there's this long cell block, and it's called A Hall. And we were down in solitary confinement. It was me and Nick and a couple of other groups, like the tour group. And I ran out of batteries for something, so I needed to go back to the car to get batteries. So I had to walk up the steps and walk about 100 yards through nothing but pitch black of this, 5-6 story high cell block. And this thing is abandoned. I mean, it's run down. I mean, have you ever been to Ohio State Reformatory?
Yeah.
Yes.
Imagine that on steroids. So, I mean, it's just, Missouri State Penitentiary is really, really out. I mean, it's creepy. And so the only thing I can see is a little bitty exit sign at the end of the hallway or at the end of the hall. And you're walking, like I said, 6 stories high, cell blocks all the way up, one narrow hallway. Well, the story that they told me that happened in this was somebody had been seeing this apparition with no eyes. So one of the inmates had been murdered by a pair of scissors and had his eyes stabbed out. So I kept saying to myself, as I'm walking down through there, if I see this MFer with these no eyes coming at me, I'm going to die. Like, I'm going to have a heart attack and die. And so I made myself do it. And I was like, I did it, so what is there to really be scared? What is it really be scared of? And so that was kind of a turning point in me being afraid of doing this stuff and being by myself and like experiencing some of these things that I've experienced. It was just kind of a weird situation, but I kind of got it into my mind at that point, like, this guy with no eyeballs comes after me, I'm just going to deal with it, and probably I might mess myself a little bit, but that would be the extent of it. I'm not going to die from it. He's not going to kill me, and it's kind of, but it was from childhood trauma. There was a lot to get over. I'm not going to lie about that.
Listen, doing it on your own is terrifying. With one or a group of people, no problem. What could possibly happen? But one just by yourself, it's a little bit terrifying because you don't know what to expect. You got no one to push in the way to sacrifice. So I get it.
Well, the mind's powerful. It can play tricks on you. And once you get something in your head and you start thinking about it, it can definitely affect you.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And I like that approach to it. I know that for me, before I do anything like active or things that I haven't done before, I don't know, climbing on stuff or doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the time, it's not going to kill me, right? Pretty sure I'm not going to die from it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, but I never really thought to apply that to the paranormal. We'll see if I can ever convince anybody to take me on a ghost hunt.
I can specifically remember that one instance where I was just like, I started not being as afraid of doing stuff like that by myself. And I've seen several things in the past. I've had experiences that I can't explain. I've gotten videos and pictures and stuff, of things that I believe are apparitions. And, I've gotten a video. One of the most haunted locations I've ever been was Ashmore Estates up in kind of eastern Illinois. It's probably my favorite location. Robin Terry is the owner. He's a great guy. I always recommend anybody, if you have the opportunity to go to Ashmore Estates, go, because it's probably the most active place I've ever been. But I've got an apparition coming out of a door in a hallway, and I had a group of people behind me, and I sent Nick down the hallway. I said, Nick, go on down that way. And when he walked past this door, this apparition, it was a shadow figure. It comes out of the door and in the hallway, and it kind of stops, and it was hunchbacked, and it was scooting, like it was almost deformed looking.
Oh. And
I was like, oh my God, are you all seeing that? And people behind me were seeing it. They're in tears. They're tore all to pieces. And I'm filming this thing. So I've got it on film. I've got it on video. And so I'm looking down at the camera and I'm looking back up at it and I'm watching this thing. Well, it turns and it looks down the hallway at Nick, and then it walks back into the door, back into the room it came from. Well, he comes back down the hallway and I'm like, Nick, go in that door. Of course, I'm going to send him into the door where this creepy looking apparition just came out. Yeah,
obviously.
And so as he walks in that door into that room, this apparition remanifests in the hallway and follows him in.
What?
And I've got all this on video and I can't believe what I'm actually capturing. I'm like, is this really happening? And to this day, I still have the video, and he was going to put it in one of his shows. And so I never really released it into the public. But I do have that on video, and it's just, I mean, it's crazy. I had 2 people leave the tour that night after that. They were like, we don't want to be in here. That was too scary.
Oh,
You know, that messed with us, so we can't do it.
thank you
But later
for
on,
sending us that video so we can play it right now. I'm just kidding. But we do have an ad right
I was like,
now.
oh, really?
Have you been feeling called to explore your intuitive gifts and deepen your spiritual practice? Then Pathways to Spirit was created for you. Sarah Lemos has been teaching Pathways to Spirit for over 16 years. And in that time, she's watched hundreds of students grow into their gifts with confidence and clarity. This isn't just about learning tools. It's about understanding how your energy works and how to use it with intention. Over 6 months, you'll learn about your own intuitive abilities and how they show up, along with many esoteric tools and practices to help explore your potential. But this course is about more than just learning. It's about embracing your sensitivity and living your best life. Register now at mediumsarahlemos.com while there's still space. It's time to uncover your gifts and abilities. Are you ready to join this extraordinary journey?
That woman just makes me smile.
I love her so much.
Good
The
Lord.
voiceover work, it's fine.
Calm down.
Anyway,
Anywho, yeah, I think shadow figures would be something that would entirely freak me out. Okay, so developing sort of this resistance to fear with maybe ghostly apparitions and things like that, does that extend to the cryptids? Because I almost feel like the cryptids would be a little bit scarier, because most of the time they're like
physical.
reported to be like flesh and blood, right?
right.
With
Yeah.
things like teeth and big claws.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as well. I think that if I came up face to face with a Bigfoot, then absolutely it's going to be completely different than coming face to face with an apparition.
Yeah.
You know, I've been an avid hunter all my life, and I've spent a lot of time out in the woods. I've never had an experience other than noises out in the woods, you know, sounds that I can't explain. But, you know, I always had a weapon of some sort, you know, and even today, like if I'm investigating, if we're out and somebody's had a sighting, and we're out with, you know, people locally and looking, investigating properties, I pack a weapon, because if they are flesh and blood, I'm gonna try to protect myself. And I know there's never really any stories about, you know, a Bigfoot hurting somebody or anything like that we heard, I guess. But I'm still going to protect myself for sure. And I know that most people will, you know, do something like that, you know, with a weapon or whatnot. So I definitely believe that it would be a little bit more intense if you come up on a flesh and blood creature as compared to an apparition.
And
Yeah.
there's a first time for everything. Just because there's
Right?
not any real big, famous, scary, torturous Bigfoot doesn't mean he's not out there. You
Yeah.
don't know what he's capable
But he
of.
might be like Harry and the Henderson Bigfoot and be real sweet.
Oh, I assume that they all are, but you can never assume. That's
Yeah.
when they get you.
That's when they get you. They lull you into a sense of
Mhm.
security, like by doing a little dance.
That's right.
And then
You
they kill
idiot humans. That was all a ruse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird that they say that at the same time. So it's kind
It
of
is.
insulting, I feel like.
It's
Insult
very
to injury.
insulting. They're not very nice. They're impolite at best. My guess.
Anyway. So being an avid hunter, you get, and I spent a lot of time in the woods when I was a kid, and you sort of get a feel for like when something a little bit dangerous is around. Have you had that feeling in the woods when
Yeah,
you're
there
doing
was
some of these?
there was one specific time that I felt like I was being stalked, and I kept hearing footsteps behind me. And it was during archery season, and so all I had was a bow, and I was going to my stand and or my blind, I should say, and I kept feeling something or hearing something, and I turned around, and when I hit a flashlight, there was a bobcat stalking me. But I had that, and it probably wouldn't have done anything, serious, but it didn't know what I was, so it was following me. And but I had that feeling prior to realizing what was going on. I was like, man, something's not right. Something's following me. And so it does give you a little chill, up your spine whenever you think that's going on out in the woods, at 5 o'clock in the morning and it's pitch dark. Yeah, it's kind of a creepy feeling for sure. So it is a sixth sense, I think, that we all have, actually.
Yeah, it's part of our instincts, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of survival. We were walking in, like following a path, like in Olympic, like on top of the mountain, and heard this, and it was on Hurricane Ridge, which is kind of known for, that if you're going to encounter a mountain lion, like that's where you're gonna.
Oh yeah, see, that would be terrifying there. We were just filming an episode of the Sons of Appalachia, and that's something else that I do. I'm an executive producer for this new YouTube series. But we were filming that, and Jennifer, she was off like next to a wood line as we were up filming another scene, and she comes kind of giggling and running at us. She was like, I just heard something. Well, there's a bear. We ran into a bear. A black bear. And so they had gotten it on video on camera right before we got there on their game cams. But she heard it. She said it was snorting and carrying on, and so she got out of there. It was kind of funny.
And she ran up laughing, you say?
Yeah, she was like, "Oh my God, there's something over there!" Like kind of, giddy about it. Not necessarily laughing more than being giddy. Yeah.
Still,
well, because you. Yeah, that might not be me either.
Crying, tears, help.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you about that particular show, and you guys film like in Kentucky and Tennessee and
North Carolina, West Virginia. Okay. Yeah, we're all over the place with that, and we're just finishing up our season 1 of that. It's in 2.5 months. We've gotten about 2.5 million views on YouTube. So it's really taken off. Each one of our episodes have gotten, 200,000 views. This last one, we're at 7 days. I think it's at 140,000 views currently. So, I mean, they're really taking off. I mean, people are enjoying it. And,
it's incredibly enjoyable.
It is. It's very, very, it's kind of like a real life Scooby-Doo. These guys are out looking for monsters. And they're characters. I mean, Jeni, you've met these guys, so they're true characters.
Instant love with these gents too. By the way, you cannot help but love them. Please tell me who's in it, and originally like where they were from.
So there's Jacob Lowe, and he goes by Buck. He's the younger of the group. He's kind of the team leader. And there's Joe Lott, which he's known as Huckleberry. He's the big hillbilly, and he's a hillbilly, so you can call him that. And then there's Wild Bill Neff, and Wild Bill, perceives him very, very adequately. He is a wild man, I tell you. He's something. So, but these guys, they all come together, and they're all just, I mean, the easiest way to say it is they're hillbillies, and they're smart at what they do, and they enjoy life, and fans absolutely adore them. And they're great with their fans, and they take people out on adventures, and it's a great time.
I can attest to the love, because when Jeni got back, she was just like, she had no specific stories, just love for these men. And I was like, I need to know more. This is fantastic. Yeah.
I came back with no actual real, stories, except for just like, I'm Bill, and then he was like, punch, and then he's scared, and then like, it's like, and he's great, and everybody's great. It was all love.
Bill needs subtitles, with him constantly.
Yeah.
And it's funny, on one of our episodes, he's going off, and you can't understand a word that he's saying. So we put subtitles in for him sometimes. Finally, the subtitle guy said, I have no idea. Sorry, subtitle guy.
Just question marks.
Yeah.
They are so good. You mentioned prior that you had some sort of cryptid experience. May I inquire as to what?
Sure, yeah. And this was something I was about. See, I was probably a freshman. So I guess I would have been about 15 years old. And it was here in my local town. And I'm in Harrodsburg, Kentucky. I'm right between Lexington and Louisville in central Kentucky. And I was waiting for my girlfriend to get out of cheerleading practice. And it was one night, and I was with her older sister, and we were driving around waiting for her to get out so we could pick her up. And there was a local guy that kind of had a crush on her sister. And so he was kind of flirting with her. And she's like, oh, we got to get away from him. And so we take out and go down a long back road. And I can specifically remember the occurrences as they occurred, what I was looking at. And then she slams on the brakes and she gave me one of the, put your hand out, kind of stop you from going forward. And she's like, oh my God. And so when I turned to look, right in front of the car in the headlights, maybe 10 yards away, was this big creature. And the best way I can describe it now, knowing what I know, I think it was a dog man. I really do.
Oh.
But it looked like at that time, it looked like a lion standing up on its back legs. It had a kind of a bigger upper body, bigger torso.
Yeah.
It had a mane it had a short square nose. It didn't have an elongated face.
Yeah.
Its arms were kind of brought up to its chest, and it had a long tail. And that's one thing that dogmen aren't recorded on allegedly having is a long tail. And so I didn't know none of this back then at all. But now that now that I've done more research and heard more stories and got more information, I'm like, was that what it was? I think it was, but I'm a Christian. And so at the time I was experiencing this, the only thing that was in my head was I just saw a demon. I mean, that was what I was, I was terrified of this thing. And it actually leaned and looked into the front of the car.
Oh no.
And so, we're just sitting there petrified. We're just frozen. And this thing the best way to describe it is, like the old Japanese animation or claymation type things like Godzilla, like being very labored walking, like turkey jerky kind of, labored walking.
Yeah.
That's how this thing walked upright. And so as it crossed the road, it just over a fence and was gone into a field. And we watched all this. Well, she put it in reverse, backs into the nearest driveway, and we turn and leave. And, that escaped my mind for years until I got back into this. And I was like, that really happened, and it kind of come back into play after, I started doing more research and got more into the cryptid stuff. And I've tried contacting this girl and she's not lived the best life, I guess. And so she's just not reachable. And so I've not been able to kind of confirm all those details again, cause I was a kid, it's been 30 years ago at least. And, so it was kind of a weird situation, but I experienced it. I remember seeing this, and, I would just like to have more confirmation from her if I ever, if I was ever able to. But I saw this with my own eyes, and like I said, for the longest time, I just thought it was a demon. So I tried to block it out of my mind. I was like, why am I seeing this? As a kid, what's going on? What's happening? And so it was scary. It was a scary time. It's kind of, it's just post-traumatic, like I just blocked it out of my mind.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and the fact that it was like, it could have been like a couple seconds long, but you have such a detailed
absolutely,
description of it. Like, I have no doubts that that's what you saw. None at all. And I just remembered when I was 17, roughly the same age that you are, I had a way more mellow experience when I saw what I think were a couple of UFOs, like, I don't know, dancing with each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, I had totally wiped that from my brain until
it's weird how that happens.
Ago.
I think it's just, I think it's the way our minds deal with almost like a mental trauma. I really do. It's like we can't comprehend what's going on or what's happening.
Yeah.
And so we try to rationalize it, and then we just try to shut it down.
Right. And the fact that you thought that it was demons and that's what was working in your brain with it, of course you're going to try and forget that. Of course your brain's going to try and protect you from it.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you do hear about that. I mean, like, number one, you hear about that in like so many, day-to-day PTSD sort of cases where things are blacked down. But then the owls and the aliens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where people remember those huge owls, and it's like, where did you really
Right.
find,
And
Did you ever?
they really look like that too. They're scary looking guys.
Huge.
I can imagine. Did you ever go back to the area, even though it's been years and years?
Several times.
Okay.
Several times. Yeah. Probably at least a couple of times each summer.
Okay.
Just to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the old light on the side of the barn that I drove past is still there. And that's what I was looking at whenever she hit the brakes. I mean, it's very detailed in my mind. I specifically remember every step of what happened. It was just a wild experience, and I'm glad that I could remember it eventually.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I am too, because it's a fantastic story. So
yeah, it is.
I definitely appreciate it. Okay, but you haven't had. What about anything? The UFOs, right? You've gone out and you've looked for those a little bit.
We have, yeah, and I've seen a few things. I've seen a few things that I just couldn't explain. Like you're saying, dancing in the sky, stuff that I'm like, what is that? It is UFO because it's unidentified and it's flying around in the sky.
Right.
But I've seen things on video just recently. Our good friends, Joe Perdue and Ron Lanham at Wild West Virginia, and they'll be at Cryptid Con. And they've got some video and they've got some equipment that is pulling up this video of some of these UAPs and UFOs that is just phenomenal. And, they'll be speaking. We're having those guys as speakers at Cryptid Con, but I'll definitely introduce you and you can check out some of their stuff, some of their footage. But we're planning on going out with those guys again pretty soon and trying to see what they can pull out, because man, some of their research is phenomenal. It really is.
Oh, that is so. Have you ever thought, and this is 1000% like a selfish question, but have you thought about doing like the same kind of thing as you do with like the Groff tours, like finding some UFO guys and being like, hey, why don't you take these?
Definitely. I've talked about doing that with Ben Hansen, actually.
Okay.
Ben's a good friend, and he's very big into the sky watching, and he's got some of the stuff, to do that with. So we've discussed it a few times. It's never kind of come to fruition, but hopefully one day it will. And he's a busy guy right now with family, so he doesn't really do a whole bunch at the moment. But hopefully he'll get back on the circuit again pretty soon, and we can make something like that happen, because I agree that would be amazing.
Yeah, any of those, like if, I mean, I'm just saying, let me know if there's like some sort of Bigfoot tour happening or UFO tour.
And you need a special guest named Jeni Monroe. Is that what you're saying?
You need a special guest who will contribute nothing except for real big eyes and maybe some quiet mumbling. That'll
some tiny squeaks from time to time.
Yeah, that'll probably be me. Like, oh, that'll be exactly it. What other kind of story? I'm so into the stories now. What come on, what else you got? That was very demanding.
Let's see. My I guess my first like true apparition story. I was at a local place here in my hometown, and I'd heard this place was haunted for years. Growing up, and it's this big giant mansion that sits up on a hill right in the middle of town, and it was where one of the founders of the original town, kind of had started to build there with Daniel Boone. And everybody's heard of Daniel Boone.
Automatically haunted. You didn't even need to say half that stuff. It's haunted. Yeah.
He's just looking for his cat, man.
So I was letting a group into that house. I ended up becoming friends with the owner, and I had rights to the house, and so I had a key, and I let a group come in and kind of check it out one night. And they were all upstairs, and I was downstairs by myself, just kind of sitting around. And I walked into a room, and there was somebody sitting over at a table. And I looked at him. I was like, "What's going on?" And they didn't say anything. So I started walking towards them. I hit them with a flashlight. They illuminated, and he turned and looked at me and I was making eye contact, and he wasn't with the group. I was like, "Man, you can't be in here. This is private." I said, "You're going to have to leave." And he just stared at me. And as I continued to walk towards him, he just disappeared.
Oh.
And I was like, holy shit, what did I just see? Cause like, I wasn't afraid whatsoever, because I thought it was somebody sitting there. Right. And I just thought somebody had came in, and I'm not afraid of people at all. I mean, I worked in nightclubs for over a decade as a bouncer. So I'm not afraid of anybody. when it comes to man. But man, if I'd have known that had been an apparition there, I'd have probably been a little bit more apprehensive of coming up on him. But no, this guy turned and looked at me and made eye contact, and he had a white collared shirt on. He was sitting behind a table. He had a white collared shirt on. He had very detailed blonde, wavy hair at a hard part, had a cleft chin, and just was staring at me. Well, the ironic thing about that specific description was I was doing another event up at this house, and somebody saw a bunch of vehicles there, and she came up. She was like, "Look, I used to live here when I was a kid. I just want to see the place since it had been renovated." And I was like, "Well, I've got a lot of people here." She's like, "I just want to step in the front door and look in." I was like, "All right, so come on." So she did it, and she was like, "Is it haunted?" And I was like, "Yes, this place is haunted." And I told her that same story that I just told you. Well, she hit the floor. Like, she literally hit her knees and fell down. She said, "You just described my uncle that went missing when he was 17 years old."
Oh my God.
So true story. And so she was in tears saying that I just described her uncle whenever he was 17 years old and went missing. And, I was just like, "Holy shit, are you serious?" And she was like, "Yes." She said, "I have pictures of him. I'm going to bring them to you and let you see them." Well, she never did. So I don't know if she was just saying that at that point, but she was acting very good if she wasn't being honest with me. Because the second I said it, she collapsed. She hit the floor. So that was a cool story as well.
Oh my God.
Kind of validated what I was saying. If it was the case that she was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Now I want to know why he was there. I have more questions that can not be answered. Kind of like this book by Jeff Belanger.
Vampire in Rhode Island?
A UFO crash in Connecticut?
A flying moose in Maine?
A haunted bridge that calls your name?
New England is weird.
Really weird.
Wicked Strange by Jeff Belanger and Frank Grace is your ticket to the bizarre. Ghosts, monsters, urban legends, and roadside oddities you won't believe until you see them.
So pre-order now on Amazon. It drops September 2nd.
Assuming the Black Dog of West Peak doesn't get you first.
Let's get strange.
Wicked Strange. Pre-order your copy now on Amazon.
I guess we need to update our ads.
I love Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the
Jeff the
best.
friend, yeah. Actually, I've got a Jeff book on my table right here.
I love that one.
Christmas books.
The way
I
that
love that
book
one.
is bound, the
Listen,
hardcover,
it's not okay.
the
so
bookmark.
listen, all right.
Wow.
I'm a book person, and I get very excited about books. Listen, the binding process and the paper and the ink have gone through a long process over history, and I'm very excited about it. So when there is a book that is put out that is of beautiful quality, I get excited. And maybe it might not have been the best thing to mention immediately upon an
For
interview
15 minutes
with him. It was
kidding.
like 5.
It wasn't that long.
Perhaps other people weren't as excited as I was, but listen, let me tell you about the quality of that book.
Anyway,
I like books.
It's sitting right next to my Project Blue book, signed by Stanton Friedman.
nice.
That's one of my prize collections.
As it
So,
should be.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Just got
That was
excited
right
about
before he passed. I got that at Michigan Paracon. They were fortunate enough to have him before he passed, and I snagged up one of his books.
it. Nice.
So yes, I like all the books too, Jenny.
See? I'm not completely and totally insane on this one. What have you not investigated or gone on the search for that you would very much like to?
100% the Yeti. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. I would love to go to the Himalaya mountains and see if I can just experience anything out there. And I'm not physically fit enough to do something like that by any means. So I'll just live vicariously through Josh Gates and anybody else that can go do that,
Yeah.
But that would be what I would want to do for sure.
Fantastic.
I'm not the cryptid lady here, so are we just talking Bigfoot in a different location?
It's a cousin to Bigfoot, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bigger, whiter. Maybe
They're
more
actually
hairy,
supposed to be
we're not
red.
sure. Are they really red?
Yeah, they're supposed to be red.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just assume that they're white. Listen, Rudolph, the reindeer,
the Bumble
in
is
the 80s
definitely white.
told me
And
they
they
were
bounce.
white. I was just telling somebody the story about Jimmy Stewart and getting the Yeti bones back to the U.S.
Yes.
Yeah, smuggling those things. Yeah,
Well,
I'm
let's
I'm not
fascinated.
sure.
to find out
I'm
how
not sure
true.
of the story.
Well, okay, so I don't remember years because I'm not good at memory.
Tressa's laughing about
Uh,
something. I don't know.
Right. So
We're going to get a
point,
vague story about something that may or may not have happened, and I'm looking forward to
did
it.
happen. It did happen, but it will be
Yeah.
vague.
Yeah.
And short. So in Tibet at a monastery, there have been reports that they do have these religious artifacts, which
Mhm.
are parts of Yeti.
Sure,
Right?
the scalp and the hand and yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the hand, somebody
Mhm.
over here wanted to study the hand or the bones of the hand and have them tested, right?
Mhm.
And the monastery was like, no, thank you. You may not have them. You may not remove them. I don't care if you return them. You may not have scrapings, et cetera, et cetera. So they got them drunk and took a couple of the bones. And in order to not get busted by customs, Jimmy Stewart, for some reason
Like the old
that I
actor
don't
Jimmy Stewart.
remember,
Yeah.
yeah, had his wife tuck them into her traveling
Underwear.
trunk in her underwear
Her
compartment.
underwear trunk.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
And they
I
opened the
know.
trunk and they saw underwear and they're like, ooh, icky lady things. And they're
Yeah.
like, no, we
Yeah.
won't look at this.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah, and I wish I
hilarious.
had more
I've never heard
details,
that
but I
story.
don't remember. Yeah, not good at details.
So kids,
Fine.
if you need to smuggle anything, just get a trunk and put ladies' underwear in them. You're good.
Then they're going to know why I'm packing around 3X ladies' underwear.
It's fine. It's totally fine. Not hiding anything.
Right, because you're a
Yeah.
smuggler. We all get it. It's
Mhm.
fine.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
All right, and now that I've just commonly gone off the rails with this one, thoughts on Megalodon?
Oh, okay.
I think that it's still a possibility that the megalodon is still around.
I
I
like
do.
to
Yeah.
confirm my thoughts.
Is that how you feel?
It's a fact.
I think
Yes,
that it's a
absolutely.
possibility. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like
absolutely.
the ocean is like, I'm going to say something really
Right.
deep. The
No.
ocean is like the water version of the forests of the national park. Like, how could something not be hiding there? You're welcome.
That was so descriptive and clear.
Mhm. Yeah. It sounded fantastic.
Yeah, as I was
Science.
opening my mouth to say it, I was telling myself, don't say that. That's stupid. So you're welcome.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that feeling.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about all the cons, when they are,
Yes, please.
all the things that you want to plug. Tell us in full detail so people can look them up. And we'll have everything in the show notes as well so they can look at those and get a little linky poo. Ew, I said that. Yuck. Ew.
That's a thing that's out there now.
Gross. Sorry. But yeah, tell us stuff.
So as far as events, man, I try to promote everybody's events because I generally have guests there. I have clients there as guests, I should say. So I do try to promote everybody's events. I think that that's a good thing to do because I would hope somebody would promote my event.
Heck yeah.
So, I do try to promote everybody's events. I know that coming up, we have the New Jersey Para-Unity Expo ran by John Ruggiero, which is he's a great guy. It's a great event. I've got a lot of clients there. He's got an amazing guest list. But that's coming up, I think, the second weekend of November. So that one will be coming up. And then my event is the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of November, which is Cryptid Con. That's cryptidcon.com. We have a huge guest list. It's a weekend full of events, lectures, parties, vendors, you name it, and it's going on there. So like Jeni was saying, there was a Bigfoot hunt, but it sold out in the same day that we announced it. But it's a good show. I'm very proud of what I created there. Just kind of one day I was at a Bigfoot conference in Ohio, and I was like, man, we need to do this in Kentucky because there wasn't anything like that. And at the time there was no cryptid events. And so I was like, Bigfoot kind of tops out, you can only go so far with Bigfoot. So let's take it up and we can add more and more to it and create cryptids, and Bigfoot monsters and legends. And that's the subtitle to Cryptid Con. And so I did that, and it's grown now. We're going into our 8th year. I'm very proud of it. And, I've looked at possibly doing a Cryptid Con too, and doing it over, like traveling around, doing it out on the West Coast and East Coast and stuff. But, maybe that will happen one day. But right now I'm pretty happy with where ours is at. But that's November 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Lexington, Kentucky. Tickets will not sell out. I mean, we're going to have plenty of people there. The doors are open for everybody to come in and check it out and meet some of your favorite celebrities. So I'm happy about that one. Then coming up early next year is the Missouri Paracon. It's going to be a good show. They're bringing in a lot of guests. And then probably my favorite show, Paracon, is the Pennhurst Paracon up in at Pennhurst State School. And if you guys haven't been there, that's an absolute must do that event.
Yeah.
It's at Pennhurst, which is one of the freaking most haunted places I've ever seen in my life. It's overwhelming when you get there, the campus is. And then on top of that, having all your favorite celebrities, being able to ghost hunt, being able just to see the history and the ruins that were there. And it's just amazing. It's an amazing experience all around, not just for a Paracon, but for all around. So those are the few coming up that are big that I'm trying to help plug right now.
Nice.
It's a fantastic and super fun roster. I'm
absolutely.
so excited about the Crypticon. It's my first one, and I'm so excited about going. One, I have discovered that I really enjoy Kentucky this year.
Good. Bowling Green. Bowling Green
fun.
was a really cool little town. It definitely was. I had a good time at that little show.
Yeah, it was absolutely adorable. And then I got to go to Mammoth Cave. So,
right.
Yeah. And I got to hike around Mammoth Cave with Biko on one of the days.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Like, how fun is that?
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. I knew him I didn't know him but prior to knowing him, I was a fan of his on Alone, the series Alone.
Yeah.
And then when Maria introduced me to him, I was like, man, I know this guy from somewhere. It's kind of weird. And then we got to talking, and now I work with him on setting him up for events, and I've got I'm going to be having him at Cryptid Con. I'm having the entire Expedition Bigfoot team, which that's a very rare occurrence, for those guys to get together. So I'm bringing in Bryce and Biko, and then of course two of my favorite people, Russ and Maria. I love those guys dearly.
They're great.
Yeah, they're very, very good friends as well. So his clients, but I think a lot of them. But yeah, I'm having the whole cast there, so come out and meet the guys.
Nice.
Very, very fun, and Missouri is always a good time. I'm excited about Pennhurst this year.
Check it out for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's in May. It'll be May the 16th, 17th, and 18th, if I'm not mistaken. It's that weekend of that time frame.
Yeah, so everybody go check those out. And also, you'll have a great celebrity, me, there, who will totally sign your autographs. What?
Why would you sign their autograph? That's weird, Jeni.
I tried to do that for a little buck on the side. I go, you know what? I'll sign that for you.
You're working on your forgery skills?
I am. I work on those quite a bit.
Cool.
But one other thing I would like to plug is the Sons of Appalachia.
Yes,
it's the new YouTube series, and it's the guys that we just mentioned earlier, Huck, Buck, and Bill. And they're formerly from the show Mountain Monsters. It was a hit show, and once they didn't get picked back up, well, nobody really got picked back up. If you all know everything's going on in the paranormal community.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're such strong personalities, and Jeni, you can attest.
Absolutely.
Their fan base is just insane, and so they wanted more, and so we wanted to bring it to the fans, and so we've put those guys on YouTube, and it's free. You just subscribe and watch the show and have a good time with it. And we're finishing up season 1 currently, but that's the SOA Team channel, YouTube SOA Team channel, and you can check that out. And it's pure entertainment. It's for entertainment purposes, but it's just a great time. I mean, it's an absolute great time.
All of you are such a delight. Wonderful to see you guys at conferences. Wonderful to hang out. Like I can't even begin to tell you the delight that I've been having at some of the more cryptidy conferences because
Yeah,
mostly
a bunch
because
of
of
good
all you
people.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
wonderful
appreciate that.
people
That
to be
means a
around.
lot. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. Now that that's settled.
Yes, I've made that position very
Tressa, we
clear.
got to get you to some cryptid conferences.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We do. I think I'm
Yeah.
going to be there in November. So I'll have
Sweet.
to deal
Okay.
with this.
I'll be running around like crazy, probably.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'll still bug you. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of
Man,
fun.
thank you for having me.
It
Yeah,
You've got some
Thank
great
you.
stories, and it's just a pleasure to meet you.
you as well.
Thank you. Everybody else!
There it is.
Yeah. Hey, if you'd like some merch or to say hi or do whatever, you should go visit us at monstersloungepodcast.com. I bet we have a few linky poos for you. I'm so
God.
mortified that I said that I had to repeat it.
Yeah, you really did.
Yeah.
You really did. That's going to come up
So-
a lot.
Yeah. So until next time, thanks for visiting the Monsters Lounge.